Welcome back to Code Step by Step. My name is Anil. In this part of Angular, we will discuss about dynamic routing. First of all, I will tell you what is dynamic routing, why this is required, and how this is different from basic or static routing. And after that, I will tell you how we can pass data from one page to another page through routing and how we can get this data from routing. And at the last, we will discuss important interview questions also. So let's start with the first question. What is dynamic routing? So whenever we want to show some information which is coming from database, that time we need a dynamic routing. For example, let's say in database you have around 100 users and you want to show the information of these user on a different pages. So that not possible that we can make 100 pages for every user, because if we are just making 100 pages, maybe after some days or after some time, maybe users just got increase and we have that time we have around 150 users, or might be we have just 50 user. So how we will manage all these things? We can manage all these things through dynamic routing. So I can show you an example so that you can get it properly before starting with the code, right? So some day ago I just created a project in Vue.js, and that time we just created a curved functionality. So here you can see that whenever I am just clicking on a update button, so with the update route, there is a ID of that route, and behalf of this ID, we are fetching the information of restaurant. So let's just click on the another one. So I'm just clicking on a KFC. That time the route is same, but there is a ID is different, and with the behalf of this ID, again we are fetching the information for KFC restaurant. So let's say we have some other restaurant also. So we are doing the same thing with the other uh, restaurants. So let's say we have the lots of other users also with the same way. Then how we can show this user list? So obviously we can just make the dynamic routing, and that we will do in this video. So first of all, I will tell you that how we can make these kind of links for dynamic routing, then how we can pass this information in the URL, and at the last we will discuss how you can get this information on our this page, right? Obviously we are not going to develop the same functionality that we created here, but obviously you will get the overall information that how it's actually work, right? Because if I'm just going to develop all this functionality, it will take lots of time, and I want to show you all this information in a uh, minimal time. So I'm not going to create all this functionality, but definitely whenever we will make a project, I will just make a same kind of code in the Angular project also. So now let's start with the first one, and let's see how we can create the links for dynamic routing. So let's say we have some users, and in a home page I am just going to create some links for for the users. So let me create a br tag, and so that I can just do it fast, I am just copying and paste the links. So here we have some user, let's say Peter, Sam, and last one is let's say Bruce. And every user must have ID so that we can show the information according to the ID, right? So let's say the ID is 10, obviously 20, and at the last one is 30. So now whenever we will just open our page, you will see that we have three links, and here you can check our ID here. Whenever I will just hover on that link, 10, 20, and 30. But whenever I will just click on it, you will see a error inside our console. So why this is error is coming here? The reason is we just defined here links for dynamic routing. We did not created the routing for it. So now let's get back and come back to the app.routing.module, and here let's simply pass here colon slash colon id, right? So keep in mind we are passing here id because this is required whenever we will fetch that information from route. So if I'm just putting here no number, or if I'm just putting here uid, everything will be work. There is a no issue that you just, it's not mandatory you will just only pass id, you can put it any name here. All right, so after that let's see is it working or not. So now I'm just clicking on a Peter, it's working. About and Bruce and Sam, everything is working fine. Here you can see that. But and we got the information here also. You can see that on home we have the route, on about we have about route. Whenever I just click on a Bruce, the user and the ID of Bruce is coming here. Perfect. So first step is done. So how we can get this information on our user component now? The question is that, right? So for that, first of all, we just need to go on that page. So let's open user.component.ts. You can directly go by here also if you want to go. And after that, first of all, we have to import here active routes, but we are using Visual Studio Code and it will automatically import. I will show you how, and it will just save our time also. So in a constructor, just simply pass here private, you can see that params, which is route, and it will be a activated route, right? And whenever I just click on it, you can see that it will automatically import it from here. If your browser is not supporting it, then you have to import it manually, keep in mind. All right, so now let's just console our ID. Just put here console.warn or console.log, whatever you want to use. Just put here user ID is, and now simply put here this dot route dot snapshot dot param map dot get function and our route name. So I am putting here ID because in a routing time, defining the routing time, we just pass here ID. So if I just maybe let's suppose we just passed here user ID, that time the same name we have to pass here, right? But for a moment we have our ID, so we are just getting it by the ID. Now let's see what we are getting here. Here you can see that we get the ID 3. We are just home, that's why there is a no log. I'm on a Peter, there is a no console. So again, if I'm just going on a Bruce, you can see that the ID is here. On a home, again there is no console. On a Peter, this is working fine. So now let's say you just want to get this 10 ID on our page here, not in console. That how you can get it? So just simply put here user ID or anything that you want to just mention here. Just put here string, and now let's just got it from here and simply mention here this dot user ID equal to this, like this, right? And actually there might be null or string, that's why it's just simply ask that, just put here string or null, right? We can use this, and you can assign by default null value if you want, like this, and you can format also for that code like this. And now just simply use here this ID in our HTML page, and let's put here, say we have a h1 tag inside the interpolation, just put here user ID. And if you want to add some text like this is user ID, you can also mention here. Here you can see that this is user ID. I'm just going on about, it will about page, and again we can come on a Peter and Sam, whatever we want to get, it will just work, right? And if you don't want to use here string and all, if you are just beginner in Angular, then don't worry, just simply put here any. That means it will accept all data type, but this is not a recommended way. So thank you so much for watching this video, and let's talk about interview question. So I am not going to answer this question, just you can just Google it, but this is important for interviews. So we are passing here ID. So is it possible that with the ID we can pass here some name or something else, or can we pass 2 parameters here? If yes, then just let me know in the comment box. If no, then let me know in the comment box with the reason. Thank you so much.